kind of want to look at this. Transforming Gwent's arena mode into a new draft mode. So, this is a long article, and they go into quite a lot of detail. So let's just start at the top. When looking at our arena mode, there are several issues that they identified. Not being able to equip vanities. While it sounds like a simple fix, would have been tricky with our current UI, and since we knew we wanted to remake the mode entirely, we've been waiting for this moment to correct the server site. For draft mode, we are remaking the UI to fit our current standards of quality. This will definitely be something the new interface will support. So, this is remaking the UI for cosmetics entirely, right? This isn't just reworking the UI for Arena. Means how it interacts with draft? I don't know. I mean, the current UI is sort of a mess, right? Like, you have to set it for every single deck you play, which is part of what makes it not work for draft. You can't just, like, set faction defaults. Like, I want all of my Syndicate decks to use this leader with whatever other things. You can set card back from here, too. Wait. There are 2 buttons to get here? Oh, there's buttons over here, too. Wow. Yeah, like, for some reason you have to change all of these for every single deck instead of just setting faction defaults. I would hope that that's something that they're changing, because you would expect those faction defaults to carry into Arena as well. Because a big part of why I don't use, like, custom boards and custom card backs and all that is because I play so many decks, and having to change it every time I make a new deck is just too much to care about. But if it was easy to just do the cosmetics once and forget about it, like it is with the avatar and border and user title, then I'm sure I'd use them. And I checked the cosmetics page last time. It's been a long time. I didn't even know how it worked, to be honest. I didn't know there were 4 buttons to get to the same place. It's just weird they chose to do it that way, and they haven't, like, ever changed it. Required investment to play. In our arena mode, following industry trends, we introduced a ticketing system in order to participate, with rewards based on your performance to potentially offset entry costs. This dynamic caused us to disconnect Arena from regular progression systems until somewhat recently. We believe the system creates an unnecessary barriers to players who otherwise prefer this way of playing instead of constructed formats. With that in mind, entry costs into the new draft mode will not exist. As a consequence, we will not initially have the matching reward system based on your performance. While the latter may be seen as a positive or negative, depending on your preference, we hope we can respect why we chose to head in this direction and that this is an unavoidable outcome. As in it's just going to be crown rewards. So playing Arena isn't going to be different from playing Constructed as far as rewards are concerned. They're not, like, removing crowns, too, right? It's just because there's no upfront cost, there's no reward to reward you for that upfront cost. He goes more into it. Is that in the video? Or is it just, like, later in the article? There's still the different cosmetics series. Huge pain to select 6 different cosmetics every time. Yeah, if they were just defaults that were set either account-wide or faction-wide, I feel like that's the way you want to do those. You think about ladders and stuff? Oh, that's cool. So there'd be, like, some kind of persistent progression between arena runs, too. It's not like right now, where you do, like, every arena run is its own independent thing. But you would have, like, a season of arenas. And you'd have a winner for the season. So it's early, they're still messing with stuff. Yeah, I mean, that sounds cool. It sounds cool. Just like a reason to play arena. Which doesn't really exist right now. It's sort of the same problem that Seasonal has, that there's just no reason to play it. There's no progression at all between games. Not casual player friendly. We feel ranked and pro ladder formats are the place for competitive Gwent to shine, and having that element be the core focus of a secondary mode is a wasted opportunity. We felt that for newer players in particular, the extra punishment for losing a match created a stronger feeling of matchmaking anxiety, and this additional pressure isn't what we wanted from the mode. That is why, coupled with our decision to remove entry costs and performance rewards, we are looking at a new way to handle the flow of draft mode matches after drafting. We'll share more information at another time regarding ideas and plans for this format. What? Wait, how is that gonna work? So they're completely moving away from the Hearthstone model of like 3 losses and you're out, if they want to avoid this. Or is it just rewards? Is the extra punishment losing your draft, or is the extra punishment not getting the rewards? But not get it. Does that mean there's. I guess that they removed performance rewards. So there's no reward for doing well? Talk about how fast you draft? Yeah, but that's another bullet point. Yeah, the whole drafting process is faster, sure. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. This is just like part of this. Drafting a deck. Before we dive into the main things that we didn't like about Original Arena's draft mode, we want to highlight that we designed Arena with a pre-homecoming mindset, where provisions did not exist. It also had not seen any significant change to its drafting knowledge since its inception, and we believe it has aged poorly, failing to adapt to the current card designs in Gwent. Yes. This is a problem. Let's begin by highlighting what we did like about this mode. Ooh. That's like how quick you go through drafts. Sure. I mean, I think for casual players, I don't know. Maybe it's not what I get out of this paragraph, but I can see. I guess what we liked: lack of faction restrictions, permitting cross-faction decks allowed for interactions between cards not currently possible in standard constructed format, and we like the possibilities this offered. This will not change. Cool. Yeah, this is big. You don't in arena modes. Okay, so part of what like faction locks do in constructed is they prevent you from like building around abusive combinations of cards. Because you can always just build a deck to do those things. But in Arena, because you're limited by what cards you're able to draft, you can't do any of these things reliably. It's like okay for some broken synergies to exist in Arena. Like the BGF Joanna interaction isn't really problematic in Arena. It's cool. The 1 in 100 games you run into it, it's like, damn, I just got infinite comboed by BGF Joanna. Stockpile Harmony, Stockpile Hefty Helga, that type of thing. Even the less powerful ones that are still like Aratuza Adepts and Hefty Helgas. It's cool that those exist. It's part of what makes Arena feel so different to Constructed. They're just interactions that don't exist anywhere else. No deck building rules. Similar to the first point, the potential of having more copies than allowed in standard modes gave more versatility to arena decks, opening up an array of new exciting possibilities. Yes, especially with the bucketing system that I'm sure we'll get into later on in this article. Just allowing for things like a bucket of cards with like 3 Cintron Royal Guards, which immediately breaks deck building rules just inside that bucket itself, but could present some interesting interactions for arena. Collecting premiums affecting Arena. Getting a premium in your regular collection would result in the card being premium when generating packages in the Arena. This is a nice way to make people focused on draft to actually have some incentive to progress in this regard. This will not change. Oh, is that how it works? I thought it was just random. That makes a lot of sense that it would work that way. No, I don't know what cards I have premium versions of. Maybe broken combos in arenas a positive. Yeah, I agree. What we did not like. Now let's dive into what we did not like as much in the existing draft. It's quite time consuming. While for some of the time required to draft a deck was doubtlessly a non-issue, for many of us the time commitment was just creating a deck was more daunting than we wanted. This required the player to make a series of 26 choices, and we bring it down to 11 choices, more than halving this process while adding an extra step to draft your deck stratagem. I get this from like a design perspective. I feel like it's such a small percentage of the time in arena mode that you spend drafting your deck versus playing that this feels irrelevant. Because it takes what, like maybe 10 minutes to draft the deck? And you play for like 2 hours? I guess it's a bigger deal for the players that are more regularly going like 1-3, 2-3. But I've never thought the draft phase is too time consuming. So this might tie into what they were saying up here. If they want to make like individual runs faster. Because if it's not going up to 9 wins anymore, maybe just a run doesn't last 2 hours anymore, which is probably a good thing. Runs are probably too long as a whole. And if you think runs are too long as a whole, then you're going to want to cut back on the time of the draft as well. Draft phase is the most enjoyable moment on Arena. Yeah, but this doesn't necessarily mean that they're reducing the amount of time over the course of like playing a bunch of arena runs that you'll be spending drafting as a percentage. Like if they take the draft down from 10 minutes to 5 minutes, but the average arena run is only an hour instead of 2 hours long, you still spend the same amount of time drafting. It's just each individual draft is shorter, because each individual run is shorter, too. Now, I'm not sure that that's what they're doing, but I know someone in chat earlier was saying that Sam was talking about getting rid of the 9-win system. And if that's true, I'm sure part of the reason is wanting to cut down on the length of arena runs overall. That's interesting, though. Too many cards require synergy to be effective. Many cards, like John Natalis, for example, were usually the wrong choice to make early in the draft, since unless you were presented with at least one decent warfare card, he would be a dud. With our new draft system, the odds used to determine which cards were offered is affected by the choices you've already made during the draft. This is huge! So much of the draft in current Arena is between one real choice and two things you would never consider. Even when you look at like higher end golds, you'll often see just like 2 cards that you definitely don't want in your deck in each set of draft choices. The decision is usually very easy. The number of real choices you get over the course of a draft is much lower than you'd want it to be. And maybe that's part of why it doesn't feel as time consuming for me. Like, as you have more experience with Arena and you know which picks are obvious and you don't have to read the cards, then the draft becomes a lot faster. But if you're still new and you're hung up over which cards are duds in each pack just by looking at them, and you have to read them and think about them, then your draft's going to take way longer as you have more decisions that you have to make. So maybe while it was taking me like 10 minutes to draft, it's taking the average new player much, much longer. Because they're not able to reduce as many of the decisions. Don't remember if you wrote that down. Yeah, the dynamic drafting system is really cool. Slama did say getting a thinning bucket multiple times had its chances cut more and more time you picked it. Yeah, sure. The buckets are dynamic. As you pick certain buckets, the odds of different ones go up and down. Yeah, this was the major thing that had to be fixed. Like, this was more important to fix than this next bullet point. And it sort of ties in with this one. Drafted decks varied in power drastically. While variance in deck power from drafting a deck is to be expected, the scale at which this would occur in current draft is staggeringly high, too often dependent on luck rather than skill. I guess in some way this also ties into this as well, right? Were you, like, while I was saying that they're often very obvious picks, sometimes you have a pack, even like a pack of gold cards, where just every card is trash. Like, you're regularly taking 5 to 6 point golds because the whole pack is just trash. And that lends towards this happening. Where you have bad bronze picks, you have bad gold picks, your deck's trash, your opponent picks were more reasonable, and you just got screwed in the draft. While we don't seek to eliminate the gaps in power level of decks, we want to bring the floor up, significantly decreasing the chances of getting a totally garbage deck with little to no synergy built in. We do aim, however, to find ways to make random luck still a factor to keep things fresh, and this will ultimately always lead to some drafts having better options presented to the player than others. We are also playing with ways to add skill into the drafting process, with earlier decisions having a more tangible impact on later ones. Yeah. Many leader abilities are not draft friendly. For Constructed, we had to limit many leader abilities to only target their faction cards of the player with a deck that includes numerous factions. These leader abilities would often turn out to be a terrible choice. In order to solve this divide between Constructed and draft mode deck building, all leader abilities offered to players will be unique to draft. Whoa, all leader abilities. Ooh, reserve the right to adapt or use leader abilities from Constructed. Okay, if we feel they fit into draft mode well. Okay. So it's less all leader abilities offered to players will be unique to draft, and more we will not include leader abilities in the draft pool that are bad for draft. And there will be new ones. I feel like I could have phrased this better, but okay. Yeah, that's cool. Because leader abilities are another thing that it's sort of the same thing as too many cards requiring synergy to be effective. Too many leader abilities require synergy to be effective as well. I think the largest tier when I did the arena tier list was the garbage tier. It's just so much trash. So many leaders require you to have a critical mass of cards. Or specific cards in order to be good. Yeah, they're throwing cheap at a draft. That's down here. Some cards don't belong in drafts. Cards with deck builder restrictions that players are unlikely to fulfill will no longer be offered since they can too easily end up being dead weight. Shoop's Day Off is an example of a card that will not be part of the draft process, though fear not Shoop fans, as he will come via a draft mode specific leader ability. Does not suffer from deck building restrictions. That's cool. So we're getting a Shoop leader for Arena. So you might read this and think, like, right now, it's very easy to make Shoop live and this isn't a real concern. But when you're drafting in buckets, and there are going to be buckets that contain multiple copies of the same card, then this condition is a lot more relevant. Three card packages. Types of buckets given, yeah. With this in mind, let's dive deeper into the specifics of how drafting works in the mode named after this process. The most crucial change to cover is that players can all draft 3 cards at a time instead of 1. They are presented with 3 packages that each contain 3 cards to choose from. This achieves 3 important goals. Firstly, it allows us to reduce the number of choices a player must make, thus making drafting a deck substantially faster. Secondly, it allows us to offer cards that synergize together, reducing the odds of getting a deck filled with essentially dead cards. There's hope for old John Natalis. That is another thing. Like, not only does this improve the quality of decks overall and make them feel a little more cohesive, but it does make cards that are otherwise unplayable in Arena suddenly playable in Arena. It increases the number of cards that you will see by giving them synergy. Or by giving them, like, guaranteed synergy. Thirdly, it allows us to offer cards with a theme label that helps newer players learn concepts and categories in Gwent. For example, users may be presented with a package of 3 Wild Hunt Riders labeled as a thinning package, thereby introducing them to that concept in deck construction. This is really cool to me. This is a really cool way of introducing concepts. Like, because thinning isn't a word. It's anywhere in the game currently. But this is a... what's the word? Like an organic way for players to figure out what like the vocabulary of the game is, and the vocabulary used by the community is, just through playing the game rather than having to interact with the community. So when they do decide to like join a Twitch chat or whatever, they're able to speak the language. Did LOR do something like that? I don't know. If anyone from LOR knows, did they name packages like this? HS did this. Sort of? These are more flavor, though. Like, this isn't flavor. This is trying to teach the player something. Like, is domination the word for mind controlling things? Does Bag of Tricks refer to anything? Oh, yeah. It's the way that they're being named that's interesting to me. That's Steel. Yeah, like, this would be like Yoink. I don't know what Entomb does, or what this card even is. But the names being more than just flavor here, as a way to introduce terms to players. Making it easier for them to join the community. These card packages are manually configured and do not include all cards possible in regular collection-based multiplayer. This, other than being time-consuming, at least initially, allows us great control over how the drafting process works and lets us potentially rotate in and out content whenever we want. Huh. Yeah, I'm curious, like, what names they use for the packages. Because this one is a really good example. Not sure what other names they would have. Oh, he goes over it later? Oh, cool. Controlling how packages are presented. Our draft system is built upon a concept of weighted randomness. This means that when the algorithm is choosing what to offer you, not everything is given the same consideration. Let's say it had to pick between 2 packages. Package A has a weight of 3, package B has a weight of 1. This means you are 3 times more likely to be shown package A over package B. In addition to this, the weights themselves are dynamic and open to change as you draft your deck. In practice, this means the choices you make earlier in the draft will significantly affect the odds surrounding what you are offered later into the draft. For example, if you choose a Nilfgaardian leader ability, the odds of you being offered a tactics-based special package will increase significantly. So, the one drawback that I see to this is I feel like they need a ton of buckets. And they're manually designing all of the buckets. Because otherwise, I feel like you're going to end up with a lot of very samey drafts. Depending on how much you're modifying the weights. Hey, Thingles. Did we talk about Shalmar yet? No, we haven't gotten to anything to talk about Shalmar yet. You said that's not something to worry about right now, so I'm ask that question during the stream. This will be an epic fiesta? Wait, why is this going to be a fiesta? Wait, everything that has been in this article so far seemed good and fine. Wait, what's your problem with it? Ravesh doesn't like fun? Oh no, it's gonna be great. This bucketing will be hilarious. Yeah, I don't know. How good it is definitely depends on how well the buckets are implemented. That's the one place where this can go wrong, I think. The theory is all really good. All the ideas here are great. But the specific implementation could be a disaster, and we'll just have to see. Things could be samey. Packages could be a little overpowered. I'm concerned that, like, you get to the point where you can modify the weights of things enough to, like, almost deterministically get certain packages. But maybe that's just me overreacting. There could just be, like, hundreds and hundreds of packages to make that not as much of a problem. They say they're not defined buckets. Each type of bucket has 3 slots that are each random. Oh, do they? These card packages are manually configured. I assume this meant that they were all, like, the 3 card packages, but I guess that I might just be reading that wrong. There could be, like, 5 cards in a package, and you get 3 of them. Some said it wasn't as much of a problem as people think it's going to be. Well, I don't know how much of a problem people think it's going to be. I'm not going to say that it's definitely a problem, but it's, like, a thing that I'm a little concerned about. It's one of the ways that I could see it going wrong. Yeah, I mean, that's a cool way of doing it. In addition to this, the weights themselves are dynamic and open to change as you draft your deck. In practice, this means the choices you make earlier in the draft will significantly affect the odds surrounding what you are offered later into the draft. For example, if you choose a Nilfgaardian leader ability, the odds of you being offered a tactics-based special package will increase significantly. Okay. There's a whole bucket of barrels. Oh god. It will be a struggle to balance somewhere between the tailored choice-based draft and not be too constricted and always showing obvious options. Yeah. We have an additional tool at our disposal to help with this process in the form of enabling/disabling package configurations entirely. For example, unless you pick something that goes well with Firesworn, such as the Congregate Leader ability, this package simply won't be shown to you. Okay. So this is the way they have... Huh. So they can decide whether or not the enabler or the payoff is the more powerful standalone, and then either offer you the payoff first every time or the enabler first every time. Or a mix. It's kind of interesting. If you don't get coins, Sol may never be given to you. Yeah, and like Sol could either only be given to you after you've already picked coins, or there's a bucket that has Sol in it with coin generators. How do they decide when to just not give you more synergy? I don't think they do. But you're given choices between buckets, so if you don't want to take the synergy, you don't have to. Balancing package. Packages are configured on a 3-slot basis, top, middle, bottom, where which cards are possible in each slot can be... Okay. Sometimes you'll create packages where all 3 slots are the same card, triple Wild Hunt Riders, for example. Most package configuration follow a model of a gold card in the top slot, a bronze card in the other 2 slots. Sometimes we add some low provision gold cards as possibilities in the middle slot as well. Since packages follow the gold plus 2 bronze model, this ensures that in the vast majority of cases, the number of gold and bronze cards in the deck will remain fairly stable. While there are some super powerful packages in the draft, such as the triple Knickers thinning package, their odds are purposefully made low enough that players should only see 2 or 3 such packages in their entire draft. In addition, we have the power of disabling such packages so they cannot be offered to you more than once. Choosing a triple Knickers package, for example, disables its own config and that of the triple Roach package. Made some clips of Slama can laugh at himself? Wait, why would he laugh at himself? Can you brick your own buckets? Well, no, right? That's the idea behind this. It just won't show you bricked buckets. Like, if it wants to show you Firesworn, for example, instead of showing you the Congrate Leader ability, if you don't pick the Congrate Leader ability, maybe it shows you a package later of, like, Helvede, Fallen Knight, and... what's another... Slander. No, wait. The 5 provision, make a token, get 3 coins. It could be Congregate, sure. That's probably easier. But it could show you a mix of enablers and payoffs, and then show you either all payoffs later or enablers for those later as well. And for some packages, enablers are good enough standalone cards. You can be shown packages of all enablers. So things like Gigascorpion Decoction, Delirium, On-Crate Marauder, all of those things could enable something like a Dagger Greatsword package later. But it probably won't show you a Dagger Greatsword package unless you have damage effects in your deck already. Just as an example. Okay, all card packages are grouped into one of 8 categories. The way the draft algorithm works is that it will first choose 3 categories and then randomly generate a package of that category. This aspect is far more important than the categories being fully coherent. If we do not distribute the card packages into different categories, your chances of being offered 3 relevant choices in the draft become 0. Wait. The way the draft algorithm is first choose 3 categories and then randomly generate a package of that category. Do not distribute the card packages into different categories. Your chances of being offered 3 relevant choices in the draft becomes 0. This is why sometimes packages are placed according to how they best affect the odds of the draft. What? Okay, this paragraph completely went over my head. I guess it'll make more sense when I know what the categories are. An important thing to note is that the choice of which categories will be shown to the player is also controlled via dynamic weighted randomness. This means some categories can have significantly lower chance of being seen than others. Some categories are even configured in a deteriorating way, meaning every time you choose a package of its category, the odds of you being offered that category again could be significantly reduced. Let's take a look at the currently planned categories and which packages fit into them. Oh, okay. So this is where thinning is? Yeah. Okay, so thinning is one of the 8 categories. So there's 8 of these. Mechanical. These packages are built around a primary mechanic that doesn't fit into other categories. Harmony, coins, move, order, create, death wish, disloyal. Okay, so this is the linear build-arounds. Not big on this name, but okay. I guess I'm not sure what name the community would have given to this. Archetypal? But like... Sort of? Sure how move order... Yeah, exactly. These all feel kind of generic. Like, if this was assimilate, that would make more sense. I don't know what order is doing here. Maybe this is, like, specifically the NR order synergy cards? Things like Arbalist. Things like Ildico. Yeah, this makes sense, this makes sense, this makes sense, this makes sense. Yeah, charges would make more sense here, I guess. Though that doesn't include the bronze in our card, the cavalry. But things like shield would make sense here. Tribal. These packages are built around cards that share a certain category. Most of these packages are disabled by default and turned on when something indicates it fits the deck you are building. Okay. These functionally seem very similar to me, but that's why it's not just like archetypal. Construct category finally mattering. Well, no, because that wouldn't be a tribe that they care about, right? Just like how they have ships and pirates lumped into the same category. Offense. These packages are built around aggression towards the opponent, usually in the form of dealing damage. Okay, so they nailed this name. I liked this a lot. As a way of like introducing new players to the vocabulary of the community. This isn't a word that's in the game anywhere, but it's a very common term that's used. Why isn't this just control? That seems like a very obvious name. I guess bleeding isn't control, but like no one says offense. Something opposition to defense. Sure. I mean, defense could just be like protection. Protection seems more descriptive in both like how the community would say it and in what it actually does. Reactive and proactive. Yeah. One defender limit's definitely cool. Bleeding here also just feels weird. Like, bleeding feels like value rather than offense. But maybe there's a reason for it. Wombo. That ain't Falco. These packages tend to be more handcrafted and are just super high value and mostly self-contained. This is the rarest category, and players shouldn't be expected to draft a deck entirely from these. What the fuck? This is the opposite of a Wombo combo. Offense is something you're doing to the opponent's board. Yeah, I mean, that's what it ends up being. It's just the way they describe the package names up here. Where is it? Here we go. It allows us to offer cards with the tribal theme label that helps newer players learn concepts and categories in Gwent. For example, users may be presented with a package of 3 Wild Hunt Riders labeled as a thinning package, thereby introducing them to that concept in deck construction. This isn't a concept. This isn't a concept. Value is, sure. Thinning is. But, like, these aren't words the community uses. These aren't words the community uses. They like triple. Is there triple can be? Oh. Oh my god. I guess one thing is now you know when your opponent plays a Dulla against you that they have the Rune Right in their deck, and Dulla is actually a thing you want to kill. Proactive and reactive is better wording. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Wombo combo. Value. These packages are all about generating points. Some examples. Pre-buff. So... Oh, like All God or Hawker Smuggler. High power Swarm, Firesworn, Horde. Horde? Okay. Wait, Horde... Horde is definitely mechanical, right? It's so specific. Depends what they want to do with Syndicate ability for draft. Special. These packages focus on special cards and are divided into various relevant categories. Special tutors are included here. Okay, so this is going to be how you pick up like your Natalis, your Valve, your Menno. Thinning. These packages are about summoning cards from your deck and are mostly very handcrafted. Blue Stripes Commando, for example, has a chance to give you Vernon Roche Merciless as a first card, and potentially a Blue Stripes Commando in the combo as well. Knicker's Best Boy. Foglets, Imperial Brigade, Blue Stripe Shield Maidens. Sure. So the time of this writing, there's 79 packages players will see name-wise, and 8 categories to be pulled from. Most of these sub-packages can generate countless combinations of cards within themselves. We also plan to add or remove more sub-packages over time as this configuration grows. What this essentially means is that both what you are offered in drafts and the decks you end up crafting will vary greatly. Please remember these are all subject to change. Also, with some rare exceptions, each slot can only pick from up to 8 cards in the configuration. The Syndicate packages are either broken or absolutely unplayable. Why? If they do the buckets right, it shouldn't be a problem. The Sinner crew are thinning, as one pointed out. Saris also includes Queen's Guards. They aren't thinning. And if the package is Saris plus Shield Maiden plus Shield Maiden, that's definitely a thinning package. Which is Saris also has the option of not being thinning. I think that's reasonable. Maybe. Sort of hard to say with just this information what cards go where. I think Cyrus double Maiden Bucket sounds Monka-esque. It's kind of hard to enable now. Like, it might just be... I guess it depends what the leaders are like, too. I don't know. Did someone die inside? Really? Yeah, I don't know. Some rare exceptions. Each card slot can only pick from up to 8 cards in the configuration. Ooh. Core cards and leader abilities. While we eventually want to add custom leader abilities to draft mode, we want to wait to see how the draft mode configuration evolves over the duration of the open beta before trying to add more. That being said, we feel confident that each faction has at least 4 leader abilities that fit the draft mode reasonably well. Once in the draft, the player is shown 3 gold cards to choose from, and we call these core cards. Core cards are available in any of the packages that will be subsequently shown, and thus is the only way to get them. Easy examples of core cards are evolving cards or scenarios. That being said, they are not limited to legendary cards, and while they may not seem all created equal, they represent something important. Each core card will signify a significant shifting in the weights and available packages for the rest of the draft in such a way that the odds of having strong synergy with this card in your final deck becomes quite likely. Huh. Shares along with some sort of self-damage, you see slow away proc spawned units. Yeah. But like, you still need to draw the thing. Who knows if Blob is a leader in this mode? Blob's certainly one of the leaders that makes sense to cut out. Both leader abilities and core cards will draft with their faction acting like a category in card packages. This means that players will never be shown 2 leader abilities or 2 core cards from the same faction during the draft. This will hopefully ensure the drafted deck variety remains diverse. Wait. Their faction act means will never be shown 2 leader abilities. Will draft with their faction acting like a category. This means players will never be shown 2 leader abilities or 2 core cards from the same faction. What? It's just you draft a leader ability, you draft a core card. Are they saying the core card isn't the same faction as the leader? Or are they saying the core card is the same faction as the leader? What? They're saying leader abilities are in buckets with some cards. Oh, do you not draft your leader separately? Wait. What do they say about decisions? Crafting a deck. Required investment to play. Time consuming. Bring it down to 11 choices. Stratagem and 10 picks. Once you get your core cards with your leader, you could have Arnulf and Eithne as a core card. Said you can get evolving cards from other factions. I think it's meant to clarify you can only have 1 leader and core card. Look at the next chapter. Okay. Oh, okay, well, this is here. Full draft flow. Let's get the final order out of the way. Leader ability, then core card. Okay, yeah. 3 card packages times 8 plus stratagem. In order to maximize the impact both core cards and leader abilities have on the draft, the first thing you choose as a player. This means players will never be shown 2 leader abilities or 2 core cards. But you're only shown... Oh, wait. Oh, okay. So, like, you'll always be shown leaders from 3 different factions, and you'll always be shown core cards from 3 different factions. Okay. So you're never gonna get shown full test Demavend, Henselt as your 3 leaders. Drafted leader adds his cards to the deck automatically? No. So you draft your leader ability just like you do now, though you will be shown abilities from 3 different factions instead of potentially being shown leaders from the same faction as you can now. Then you pick a core card, which is just a 1-card draft, where you get like a scenario or an evolving card or something like that. And then you draft 3-card packages 8 times. And then finally you pick your stratagem at the end. But this is 1 thing, this is 1 thing, this is 3 things per, and this is 1 thing. Closing remarks. There's still so much we want to do with draft mode. We'd love to add some form of progression system, perhaps in the form of MR, so that there are additional incentives to perform well in the mode. We're also considering ways of modifying your deck as you progress, most probably after having played a match with it. Ooh. We're also considering adding restrictions to drafting in the form of cooldowns to prevent players from just quickly redrafting all the time in order to maximize the odds of getting the best combo. It is our hope that the urge to do this in order to enjoy draft mode is significantly lower because terrible decks that are so bad you don't even want to bother trying becomes a thing of the past. We plan to continue to tackle the drafting logic to keep it feeling fun and hope this creates a new way to enjoy Gwent for new and existing players. Getting scenarios is way worse than getting evolving cards? What? No, because once you draft the core card, then the odds of you getting packages that work with that core card go up. So if you draft a siege, you're more likely to be shown siege engines over the course of the draft. That's like the whole point of the system, is they can have probabilities of cards shown to you be dynamic. It does sound way better than Arena for sure. My only hang-up, aside from like things that could potentially go wrong, is I don't like the names of these. And maybe that's just me being silly and like overreacting to how good the name was here. But like value thinning, and I guess special is fine, even if it's not like teaching anybody anything. My expectations are too high after seeing thinning. Maybe. This is just such a good way of introducing new players to the vocabulary of the community. Wombo combo is amazing. It doesn't do anything is the problem. It's fun. What would I name them? I'm not sure how I would differentiate between these two. They feel like the same thing to me, and maybe I'd have to see what the buckets are actually like to really say anything. Like, I'm not sure if tribal means just cards from the tribe, or if it's like payoffs for the tribe. Is this going to show me cards that work well when I have dryads, or just show me dryads in general? Offense should probably be control and shouldn't have bleeding. Defense should probably be protection. You can move bleeding into value. But like, I'm not sure if there's a reason why bleeding is in this. But this stands out as the thing that isn't control of these. Mechanical is relating to words, keywords that rely on their wording keywords a lot more than other cards. Yeah, but like tribal payoffs are sort of the same way. Like the cards that work well with Wild Hunt, it's not too different from relying on a tag than it is like relying on a keyword. Like, what's the difference between a card with Harmony and like the shooty soldier dude in Nilfgaard? The 3 with 5, or the 3 with 2 armor that deals 2, and then 1 every time you play a soldier. Or like Ramen too. Crossbowman. There we go. Like, just from reading these, they feel very similar to me. Even if the distinction is like card text versus tags. Functionally, they're very similar. Yeah, value is fine, special is fine, thinning is fine. I don't know how else you would name this. Maybe this just being a fun name is all you need. One is teaching Harmony, the other about soldiers. What? Yeah, what? That's like the same difference between like Deathwish and Harmony. Obviously, Harmony and soldiers aren't the same thing, but is the difference between that the same as like the difference between Harmony and Deathwish? And I would say that the interactions are pretty similar. Or like the way they interact is pretty similar. A round robin thing where you invite other members of the team onto the stream to chill and talk. Interesting. They're all mechanics, but slightly different mechanics? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All of these are mechanics, but slightly different mechanics. At least in the ways where this matters. Like, if this package just shows you a bunch of random soldiers, and not cards that care about the soldiers tag, then I guess that's different. And, like, soldiers payoffs would be in mechanical. Instead of the soldiers package being, like, Ramen Crossbowman and Alba Spearman. It's just, like, Ardfane Tortoise and Slave Infantry, and cards that have the soldiers tag, even if they don't do anything with soldiers, and you're just more likely to be shown these when you have, like, the soldiers mechanical. And in that case, I don't like the name mechanical. And it should probably just be, like, archetypal. Well, if he's in his 21st hour, then I won't be live when he's over, unfortunately. Yeah, it's really just these two, and it might just be that I don't know exactly what goes in them. But I think regardless, I am not a huge fan of the naming. Assimilate is under create, presumably. Not really sure why. Maybe mechanical is just where they dump all of the mechanics that aren't bleeding, lock, bounty, boost, shield, armor, defender. Maybe this has nothing to do with synergy, and it's just like the dumping ground of other mechanics. I don't know. Where's Mill? Mill's not anything. Mill's not a mechanic. 24-hour stream when? Never. I'll always cap those at 18 hours. I can't do 24. That's too much. I'm dead after 18. I don't even have any plans on doing 18-hour streams again. Mill's under the value category. Pre-buff. You reduce your opponent's deck quality with Trihern. That's where Trihern goes. 20 dollars. The triple Viper Witcher Wombo combo. I can't wait. Intimidate, Resupply, Bloodthirst, and Dominance. I would imagine all of those are mechanical. When is this coming? We don't have a date. Will they do something about provisions? You gotta just read the article or watch the last hour. They're doing a whole rework of the draft system to make that not an issue. No, that was the date where they planned on removing Arena, but I think they ended up not removing Arena. And they're just gonna keep Arena in the game until they release their beta for this. I don't think they've put a date anywhere. Alchemist to Alchemist, Living Armor into the Wombo combo. Ooh. There's a leaked image of the UI. Yeah, Berza leaked it on the podcast Merchants of Novigrad a couple weeks ago. It looked fine. I don't know why everyone thought that looked bad. It looks totally fine. It is placeholder. It said it was placeholder, but I wouldn't say it looked bad. Okay. Is that all we have? I thought it was gonna take longer than it did. That only took an hour.